I'm Rick Hickson from R&J Machine in Lakefield. We've been in business since 1975, which is actually 49 years. We cover all of Canada, concentrate mainly in Ontario. We have over 65 employees. We're one of the largest dock, boat lift, and marine railway manufacturers in Canada. We have a complete in-house design facility, so we can take your project, run with the ideas, and come up with a design that actually suits. If you're into a marina or a campground, we can design and build a perfect setup for your facility. We've done such marinas, for instance, as Little Lake in Peterborough. We do a lot of park bridge resorts items, and we do over 300 docks a year for the residential line. So today we'd like to show you our Truss floating dock. We've actually got one here which we've done a cutaway on. This side over here such is our traditional dock with the side boards on it. This has the fascia board on it. This side here we've left the fascia board off so I can show you some of the features of it. Let's start out first of all with our hold down strip. A lot of docks such over the years evolved. They've had hold down strips. Without a hold down strip, when the waves come up, basically you can get up underneath and blow your decking off. There's several ways of doing hold down strips. We differ from a lot of them. The traditional way is to take this little screw here, which is called a self-tapper. They will screw that basically down through and in through this aluminum in the middle of the board, and then when they have to take their decking off, they unscrew it, put it back on, they screw it back in, takes it back in. As you notice, the threads are very fine, so it's only a matter of about 3 years, and you'll have to reposition it, drill a new hole, and put it back in. The way we have gone in ours, as such, and I will show you over on this side here. When we do our extrusion, which is the main part of our dock, that's this part right here such. That's this one here. We cast a slot into it, a little T-slot. So what we've done is we basically set it up so we have a stainless nut and what they call a Phillips head screw, this item here. This will slide into this area here such. You can position it wherever you want. Then what we do is we come along with our hold down strip as such. As you can see, the hold down strip, it's got a little groove in the center of it, a little taper. That as such basically will fit down in and work. When you put your decking on in the springtime, you basically force that, and as you can see, it moves your decking over so it lines up. Then this here, this screw as such, basically comes along. Put the screw in like this as such. And then this goes through, basically this goes through this hole here and holds it down. The main feature of this is, with this screw is such, you don't have to worry about the threads stripping. If they ever did strip or they're seized up as such, you just basically slide that nut and put another one in. Some people say, oh, well, the problem is when I take my strip off, the nuts are going to move all over the place in the fall. So as I tell people, what you do is the first thing you do, you have your fascia board on here, undo your screws and use an ordinary Phillips screwdriver to undo it. Don't use a power bit. Stainless as such has a tendency to gall and it'll lock the nuts up when you do it in a hurry. So take them off, pull your strips out, and then put the nuts back in, or put the screws back in the nuts and tighten them down, just finger tight, and then you can do whatever you want. They won't move because they're there as such. As you can see, this one's right here. Just undo your screws, like I said. Take them out. Do this with a Phillips screwdriver, obviously. Pull your trim out. Such, put your trim there. Put your screws back in. Just put them down in finger tight. And then you won't have to worry about them going anywhere. Just take a Sharpie or a magic marker, something, just right on the back of the trim, left 1, left 2, left 3 as such. So that's how it goes in. Now, as you can see, we leave a little bit of room in between our decking. This is so it's self-center. Now, with our decking, when we put it on, we have cedar, pressure treat, and PVC. This particular decking that's on here right now is PVC. PVC, unlike composite, is about the same surface temperature as what your cedar or your PT is. Everybody says, oh, I got a composite deck, it's so hot. True composite, yes, is hot. True composite will expand and contract a lot. Whereas PVC, you have a controlled expansion rate. Basically a PVC, most PVCs will only expand around about 1/4 of an inch per 8 to 12 foot board. So the only thing you run into with composites or PVC is when the sun in the morning first hits them, it's what they call a bimetal effect. And you'll actually notice that it will raise a little bit and then it'll settle back down if you don't have the hold down strips. So what we've done to combat this, as such, so you don't have that, when it goes back down, it goes right back down to normal. Any of the docks we make with basically with PVC decking. You can see there's a little strip we put on here. You can also see in the end here, see how any of our stringers have like an L shape to them. So what we do is basically we put our decking on, which comes 2-foot paddle, put that down and then give it a shove, and that, as you can see, locks in underneath there. That stops the decking from raising. It also helps if you got a really windy day and that as such, it helps hold the boards on even more than your hold down strips. So when we go back to our side extrusion, then we have aluminum angle iron welded in as such, and welded right around as such, so it's good and solid. We use quite heavy gauge aluminum, not just light stuff. So basically the dock can stand a lot more punishing. We make this dock in both a residential and a commercial grade. The commercial grade has what they call a torque tube in it, which runs down the center, which actually that enables us to get down to a 4-foot wide dock. I don't recommend a dock under 6 feet wide for a residential, basically because you get too much twisting of it type deal. Why do we run full length floats? Basically the reason is you're concentrating your flotation on the outside edges of your dock. When you end up putting 4 or 5 guys standing on the side of your dock, it won't tilt as much. Also, when you run full length, there's almost, I know it sounds hard to believe, but when they're sitting down, the water is like a suction. So when you get into a wave action and they start to roll, it's harder. The more floats you have down in the water, it's harder for that dock to roll. So you'll end up basically with more stability. Cedar nowadays is not lasting as long as it used to years ago. You're talking somewhere in around about 15 years lifespan on cedar. You're talking about 18 with pressure treat. PVC literally lasts forever. So when you stop and think about it, your family saying, okay, golly, I'd really like to use PVC, but the cost is considerably more. The question to ask yourselves, how long do we actually plan on keeping this cottage? If you're going to keep it, 10, 12 years and then flip it or move on, then by all means, cedar or pressure treat. If you're going to keep it, let's say 20 years or pass it down, then somehow find the extra money and go with the PVC, because the PVC will actually end up being cheaper in the long run because you won't have to redeck it after about 15 or 20 years. So anyway, it's something to give some serious thought to. Our floats are bolted. Basically, as you can see here, all the floats are foam filled and that. Either rotomolded or blow molded, so basically the float is secure. There's a good wall thickness on them. You should always detach your ramp from shore so the dock can move around a bit, because realistically your lake is like a big glass of water, and when a glass of water freezes, it expands and breaks the glass. So when in the wintertime, you've got to allow that dock to move as the lake is freezing. So that's why you undo the ramp so it can move around a bit. Obviously I don't recommend leaving docks where you've got a lot of ice movement, because it could find up the whole thing sitting up on shore in the springtime. Our chain holders, which go on the end or in wherever position we decide to put the planes, are a key lock design. So basically you can easily adjust the chain. All of our truss docks that include cedar, PVC, or Sienna PT decking the fascia boards are included in the price of it, that type deal. And then you can put your dock bumper screwed into the top of it, which gives a good place for your boat to land. And then we'll carry on. We can put cleats on, we can put ladders on, whole menagerie of solar lights, whole menagerie of accessories to make it your own personal dock. A lot of the docks nowadays as such, we'll have our main floating dock be maybe 6 feet or 8 feet wide, and then we'll add 1 or 2 wings onto it. So your sitting area, when you're all said and done, can be like 24 by 16 or 20 by 20 or 24 by 24. It just gets you outside, it gives you lots of room, basically to put your lawn chairs and that. Some people say, oh, I like a T-dock. As I always say to people, think twice, because when you're walking down, if you have a T-dock, basically you're walking into the center of your sitting area. If you have an L-dock, basically you can get access to the water, keep your furniture and all that off to one side, be it left or right, and it just lets you get in and out, your kids get in and out of the water without interrupting where you're sitting. Another thing we use, which is nice on, is on the end of our ramps, we put a hinge like this as such. On the end of our docks, we have a hinge like this. This is only with the ramp dock connection. So when the springtime and you go to put your ramp back on, basically you bring your ramp back up, you drop it over there and basically just let it drop down in. So it'll stay there by itself. And then you take a wrench, tighten this up as such, and your connection is complete. It just means that one person can handle the hinge, where you have, otherwise you have, a couple guys in your ramps and the hinges and everything's difficult. This way here makes it a lot easier. There's a little hole in the center here, which once you just give it a little shot of oil and that type of deal, keeps this rotating nice and freely. So that's the hitch hinge. Thank you very much.